Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? I am doing quite well, and I will tell you what, the next number of days up through the next week, you guys are going to be inundated with some awesome content from Brick World Chicago. I had an opportunity to interview so many incredible artists and creative people and just different members in the community that have, you come across some people and they give you a different vibe. They give you a different feel. They inspire you. They pull something out of you that you didn't even realize was in there. And, it's just, it was a great chat. It was a great convention. It was a great opportunity to meet so many other people. And I still have some interviews lined up outside of the convention just due to the sheer fact that when Sunday rolled around, I was dead. Friday, I was in it. Saturday, all day Saturday, I was just rolling. And I think our last interview ended around 5:30. It started at 8:30 in the morning. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of different things. But anyway, the first interview that I have is probably one of the most inspirational 19-year-olds I have ever met in my life. Where I was at 19 compared to where this guy is at 19 is night and day difference. You would never know, other than the fact that he looks like he's 19, that he is 19. He just does not carry himself in that way. However, this was one of the coolest builds. It was nominated for one of the best builds in, I can't remember the category. He actually went up against Brick Snaps, Martin from Brick Snaps, which if you know anything about Martin, you know that's a tough task. So they were both nominated along with a few others. He ultimately did not get the award, but his build was exquisite. And it has definitely made its way around social media. I do know that because I've seen it from a number of people. And so let's go ahead and kick off in this interview. I hope you guys enjoy this one. All right, guys. Good morning. This is it feels like day 97 at Brick World Chicago. I'm here with actually an adjoining partner. This guy that has his stuff set up right next to me, and now he's sitting right next to me, Cooper. Cooper, thank you for joining me today to talk about this really monstrous, I don't want to say monstrous, crazy, wild, awesome build that you have next to me. Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
So you are clearly a baseball fan.
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
You have this massive build of
Wrigley Field.
And
Wrigleyville.
And yes. Wrigleyville. Okay. Yes. Now I don't know anything about Wrigleyville. I'm a small baseball person.
Okay.
Texas Rangers don't really have a storied history or anything like that. Not like some of the old, originals.
Yeah.
First time at Brick World, you said. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about your the build that you have going on here, what your inspiration was and stuff like that.
So I'm a lifelong, I'm 19, so that's not saying much, but I am a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan, all 19 years. And I just have so many memories of going to Wrigley Field every summer, right? It feels like every weekend some years I'm at Wrigley Field. I remember the 2015 and 16 playoff runs when I was honored to go to a lot of the games. Nice. I was actually at Game 7 of the 2016 World Series in Cleveland. I'd build that moment, but it's Cleveland, so. Yeah. And then, of course, so that's my love of baseball. I also played baseball from, the age of 6 to 18,
till now,
before I went to
much.
college. Yeah, looking to get back in somehow. And then, while that's all been going on, I've been playing with Lego and building Lego, and as my skills have developed, I've always thought about building Wrigley Field, but it's too big, it's too this, it's too that, right? And then during the pandemic in 2021, I was like, I'm going to go for it. So I did. And I was like, it's going to be one 32 by 32 base plate. And then that quickly grew to what is the field itself is now 2 or 4 48 by 48 base plates. And then the area around is, I don't know, but it's about 4 48 by 48 base plates wide and then probably 3 deep. So it's pretty large these days.
To say the least.
Yes.
It's really big for a baseball stadium, and I know you said Wrigleyville, but it's you guys can see the photos I put on Instagram on social media so that you guys can get a rough idea. It's still not going to do it any justice without being here.
Yeah.
But my God, it's huge, dude.
Thank you.
So, big baseball fan.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pandemic changed people a lot of different ways, and then some people would push them further into the Lego realm.
Yeah.
Obviously, yours pushed you into a completely different world in its own. Where did this whole thing begin? Like this conception of this idea of, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna dive in. Where did you choose to just jump in? Because it's not like you brought a some kind of mechanized creature or something like that. You brought a full on giant diorama essentially.
So the first thing I built was the marquee out front, so the red marquee, in a completely different technique of snot building and whatnot. It was a mess, and I could not scale it up to this size. It would have cost me much more money than this one. And then I played with the scale for a long time. I had tons of base plates set out on the floor in my basement at that point because I didn't know the size or anything. And then I built a replica of kind of what it looks like right now.
Yeah.
But just using like all different colors, right, to get the size and proportions right. And at the same time I'm doing that, I'm on Google Earth looking at scale measurements, doing proportions to get scale.
Sure.
And then I ordered my first Wrigley pieces, which was probably a lot of 1x1 dark green bricks.
Okay,
I think that was the first thing I did. And then I kind of went on from there, made some mistakes with some colors. I went too dark orange.
Oh, okay.
And then I needed medium nougat. That was one of the many struggles along the way.
And now you ended up where this is at.
And
right now.
then we're here. Yeah.
And now we're here. So, what was your favorite part about building that specific?
Okay. Yeah.
It could be maybe it was the technique or something. But what would you say gave you the most joy? Like this was really fun to build. Maybe it was a moment you're like, I have always wanted to see this part of the stadium or whatever.
The moment I was like, wow, is once I put the roof on. I think because at that point the inside actually wasn't even. There was nothing on the inside.
It was just naked on the inside.
Yes, it was just gray base plates. But the whole shell on the outside was done. And that's the moment where I was like, whoa, I'm doing this, and this is big.
Yeah.
And I was really happy at that moment. So I think that was one of my favorite moments. And then at whatever point I finished the outfield with the scoreboard, that was another really happy moment.
Little cherry on top of the...
yeah, pretty much.
on top. So, are you planning on expanding it? I mean, are you
okay.
good with this? Some people like to upscale. What, I can go bigger.
So I every time I finished a section, so I finished the field and I was like, I'm not making it bigger. Then I built a row of the bleachers in left field and a row of the bleachers in right field. So the rooftop bleachers, that is.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm not making it any bigger. Then I built the train in the Addison station. Not making it any bigger. Then I build the Cubs headquarters, not making it any bigger, and that's where we are right now.
That's where we are right now.
I've thought about building a minifig scale version. I have, and I think at some point in my Lego career, that's going to happen. But at a point when I have more time and more money.
More money.
Yeah.
That's what it always comes down to.
Yes.
It's yes time and then B, the almighty dollar here in the United States, which you can never seem to have enough of to spend on plastic bricks.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very important. So what kind of, obviously baseball has given you an inspiration for this.
Yeah.
Are there other things that, what, I'd like to try and dabble and try this, in the future? I mean, this is good. Yes, minifig scale, but is there something you're like, what, I want to try this? Because there's a lot of stuff and you get a lot of inspiration from walking around a show like this.
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to end up becoming is the guy that builds stuff from Chicago and just builds a lot of Chicago stuff. So right after I finished Wrigley, I was really wanting to get into a minifig build. So I built, inspired by what I built there, I built one CTA car. So that's the Chicago, Transit Authority train, right? It's the L train.
That's what
subway,
people call it.
The subway train. Yeah, we call it the L. It's subway, whatever. It's above ground.
Okay.
I built one of those, and I built another one that was motorized. So I have that. And then I think the plan is to build an elevated portion of road or elevated portion of train track and road, and then have a bunch of Chicago vehicles underneath and the train on top. That'll likely be here next year. And then at the same time, I'm working on another very large project, which will be probably about the same size of my current build on the same table. And it's going to be Chicago at Lego Architecture Skyline Series scale.
Okay.
So it'll have the waterfront, Navy Pier, Millennium Park, the Bean, of course.
Of course.
And, a lot of downtown and the Loop. So that's next year. I don't know how far along I'll be by this time next year, but I would love to have something to bring.
Yeah, at least something to go. Would you bring your stadium Wrigley?
Oh yeah,
it'll be
back.
Yeah.
It'll be back. The stadium definitely will be back. Whether I do the area around it, it just depends on space.
Yeah.
If they ask me to cut down, then I'll cut everything down, and then I'll just bring the stadium itself.
Which in its own right will get plenty of attention, this has so far this weekend.
Yeah. So that's the plan for the next year.
Very cool. So everybody starts somewhere. Mm-hmm. Everybody starts their Lego journey somewhere. Some people start it immediately. Mm-hmm. They have plastic bricks thrown at them in their face and they pop out.
Yep.
Where did yours start?
Okay, so I never had a Dark Ages like many of the people here have. I'm young, and I don't think I ever will have a Dark Age. I'm thinking a lot of Lego City sets, right? And then those quickly became building my first mocks, right?
Okay.
Attempting to build a Lego City. And I remember when I was younger, I always had I always had 2 tables in the basement where I had my trains running and a very rough Lego City.
Yeah.
Built with a bunch of Lego City sets and mocks and whatnot. So that's where it started. And then as I grew older, I started getting more into mechanical type building, which is funny considering what I build now. I built this kind of like the Lego Mario set, right? That TV, how it functions basically. I built one of those in 2018.
Okay.
16. I don't know. It was 7 years ago. Before, notably, the Lego set came out.
See, look at that. Somebody took your idea.
My family says they took my idea. They did not. They don't look anything alike. And I put that on Lego Ideas, and it got 600 votes, and I was very happy about that. And that knocked off a lot of mechanical type building. I did this Mario game where the conveyor belt moved and you had to jump over stuff with a mechanical Mario button.
Yeah.
It was super cool. It's actually still together. It does not work anymore though. I've taken a lot of the pieces.
You've had to cannibalize it.
Yeah. And then I built the John Hancock Center shortly after that, probably in 2019. And that was my first real architecture type build that I did. That's still together. It might be here next year if I make some upgrades. And then I built the Vista Tower, which is in Chicago. I think it's the tallest building in the world designed by a female architect. So
okay.
It's pretty notable if you're from the area. And then after that, I think of the builds that are still together, I went into Wrigley.
Awesome.
Obviously, there's a lot of small things in between.
Right. Of course. Yeah. So you, for your age, I've talked to younger kids and I've talked to people that are, have been building for 70 years.
Yeah.
You appear to be one of the most established mock builders that I've seen probably that I've ever talked to.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.
It is incredibly impressive what you've put together, and then you're telling me all this other things. Most people don't even want to touch mechanical things because it's such a giant nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
In its own right, because it is just a constant troubleshooting process.
Yeah.
But your scale to this thing is incredible, and you've got a little thing here for an award, so that's going to be interesting to see how that comes about here in the next couple days.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a little bit about what you would like to do in the future and stuff like that. Is there anything here that you were like, you know what, I would, of all these builds, you saw maybe a technique or you saw an idea and you're like, I would love to be able to take what this person did and mesh it into something that I'm doing?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of builds, but I guess for stuff that's like similar to what I do, there's these guys from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah.
They have like a train layout over there.
Yeah.
And it's probably my favorite train layout here. They have a bunch of replicas of buildings from, I think most of them are from Grand Rapids, the buildings themselves. And they use some really wonderful techniques in their buildings. They're super clean looking, super ultra realistic. They're minifigure scale though. And that's a little different for me, right? For my architecture type buildings. So I'd love to do something like that, similar to what they have of buildings in Chicago. Because I love their approach to building. I think it looks super nice. So those are probably my favorite set of buildings.
Very, very nice. Is there anywhere that you may want to share, or that you share maybe the building process or take pictures of the stuff, works in progress, that you would want to share with the audience anywhere?
Like Instagram or
Instagram, social media, anywhere like that?
Yeah, I've got Instagram account. It's Wrigley_bricks. I don't post very often. I'm not a social media guy.
Well, some people post, once every year. Some people post, 10 times a day.
Yeah. I struggle with pictures and lighting, right?
I'm the same way. It doesn't work for me.
I'd like to say I'm pretty good at building. I've got that figured out for the most part, but pictures and lighting I struggle with, and I just never want to take the time to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't post a lot, but if you find me at this convention, I will be here hopefully every year from now on.
Yeah.
So this is where I like to showcase stuff.
You like to be among the people.
But I will post stuff occasionally.
Okay.
There's something there.
Awesome. Well, before the last question I have for you, if you were, like I said, you appear to be a very well-established mock builder at this point. If you were going to talk to somebody and say, hey, I would really like to give you some advice, what would that advice be to somebody that's looking to take something, an idea of like Wrigley Field, and I want to build this? What kind of advice would you give them, like a jumping off point?
Okay, the first thing I'd say is do it, right? Don't think about it. Just start somewhere. You take Google Earth. If you're building a real world building, you go on Google Earth. You pick something that's iconic from whatever you're building. For me, that was the marquee and the scoreboard, and you build them. And if you build them at a scale that you like, go on Google Earth, take measurements, take what you built, do some math. Oh boy. And then you get your scale together, and that's a great spot to start. So you can really start mapping out what you want to build. And that's my advice for where to start. And then if you need pieces, I love pick-a-brick walls.
Yeah.
So that's where I would go to get just general pieces.
Sure. Awesome.
That's my advice.
Those are your 2 cents.
Yeah.
And they're very valuable. So any of you soon to be potential mock builders, go do it. So Cooper, thank you for coming on so much. I had a blast talking with you. It's been nice having somebody next to me other than a bare table like last year. But I wish you all the best. I can't wait to see what you bring back next year.
Thank you.
Well, that'll do it. I told you, this kid is incredible. His build of Wrigley Field and Wrigleyville around it is something I have not seen in a long time, especially not somebody that is fairly, I don't want to say fairly new to building, but when you think about what you're up against at a convention, like Brick World Chicago, and you're up against some of the competition, based on the judging category, and not everybody is, out to seek an award. He definitely wasn't. But the praise that he got throughout the weekend of people coming up to him. And the great thing was he was right by the door. So he was their first point when they walked in, and he was most of them their last point when they walked through and out. Now, it was just an entry door that we were next to. However, the main flow of traffic was coming right through there. And there were always people that were pointing at the thing saying, I used to live here. I used to be there. I remember, don't you remember when we were there last week at this spot, sweetie? I mean, you had parents pointing out to their kids. You had kids pointing out to their parents. You had friends pointing out to people talking about the train and everything else. And man, just some really cool stuff. So thanks, Cooper, for giving me your time. So enough of my blathering. I'm going to get out of here. You guys can check the next interview coming before too long. Make sure you look at the pictures that I have posted up on Instagram and out on Facebook so you have an opportunity to see exactly how detailed this thing really is. And even then, so a photograph is only going to do so much. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.